from everybody else.
My deep ball, it has a little secret sauce to it, man.
Never get too high, never get too low, but just keep moving.
The whole story is Carlos never beat me in any kind of sports in high.
Gotta watch the phone.
Welcome to the Orange is the New Black podcast. I'm your host, Ace Boogie, joined by my co-host, Zim. Zim, say what's up.
What's up? We are here. We are live. We are ready to talk about Bengals football. It's been a while, people. Did you miss us?
And as you guys see, this is the training camp video. This is going to be me and Zim coming to you guys live. It's been a while since we did that, but the video is courtesy of Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Just want to make sure that we give them their proper credit there. So if you see the highlights moving in the background, that's courtesy of them. But Zim, we got a couple of things to talk about, obviously with training camp gearing up, this week for the most part. So things that we want to talk about. The first thing that I kind of want to talk about, obviously, is kind of what we've talked about this entire offseason with the wide receivers, right? Uno and the rest of the Migos. So Tyler Boyd came out today and said that he feels that they can all have 1,000 yards receiving for the season. Obviously, we've talked about this point a multitude of times, but in my opinion, I think that it is very real that they can do this. You're talking about Joe Burrow coming back off of his surgery and things like that. And last week we talked to Pro Football Doc, which if you haven't watched that one, please go back and check out that. There was some great insight on there. But he seemed to say that Joe Burrow's knee injury probably wasn't as catastrophic as some like a Carson Wentz or people who have had those injuries before. So I could see why Tyler Boyd would jump out there and say that he feels like this receiving core could potentially come out with 3 1,000-yard receivers. But Zim, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, for me, I don't see a reason why they wouldn't be able to. I know it seems a little far-fetched because, not too many trios have ever done it, but I just feel like the setup for it is just so perfect. Like you're in a pass-oriented offense where Callahan said earlier today that, they want to be more balanced, but it is what it is. But I just think the target share is going to be there. The wide receivers are there. And I just think, why not? I could see a scenario where CJ Uzomah, though, cuts into that too. And then you don't have 3,000 yards.
Yeah, no, I could see that as well, especially with CJ coming back off of the Achilles injury. So definitely will be interesting to see. Another thing that we kind of talked about too, we looked at the offensive line. Obviously, the wide receiver and offensive line have been big subjects throughout the offseason. And obviously, the Bengals are out there with a starting lineup right now that does not include Jackson Carman. That's been a big talk around the local media and among some of the fans. Me personally, like, I understand where people are coming from because it's like you did use a second-round pick on him. But I think it's too early for us to say that, he should exactly be starting just from day one, in my opinion. Now, that could be a concern, right? Because he hasn't played right guard before in his career outside of, I think, a few times in high school, maybe early on at Clemson. But he really doesn't have a pedigree as a guy that is expected to really know the right guard position immediately. So I'm hoping that what this is obviously this is open to the public and media. We don't know what the next couple of weeks will entail. So to me, if we get into, like, let's say the third week or the second week or something like that, and he still isn't getting any snaps with the first team, then I'm somewhat worried. But I think some of the lineups that I saw, it seemed that they moved Xavier Su'a-Filo and Quentin Spain in different places, at least there. So to me, maybe it's that they're still trying to figure out where his role is going to be at or what they're going to do at the right guard position. It doesn't even seem like they figured out which one in terms of Quentin Spain where he's going to play at. But Zen, what are your thoughts on that?
For me, I made a tweet earlier where I was just saying, like, the optics on it. You know what it is for me? It's almost like a mental conditioning for people where I just want people to know, like, good teams hit on their first, their second round, and their third round picks, and they contribute to the team like year one. I have no problem with Pollock saying, hey, this guy's got to earn his, his stripes and everything like that. But for me, a scary thing that will happen is that we go into the situation where Xavier Su'a-Filo or Quentin Spain, or let's just say Xavier Su'a-Filo, because I think Quentin Spain probably would get the left guard spot. Let's not forget that Jackson Carman was drafted to be the eventual starting right tackle, and this year play right guard, and that's why they drafted him where they drafted him. If he wasn't going to get drafted, if they would have waited and drafted somebody else, and we had the luxury, of saying, hey, if the guy develops into this, we're going to groom along. We don't have that luxury coming off of a 4-win season, in my opinion. It's like you got to hit, and a lot of people was making the comparisons of Joe Mixon. Early on, they were like, well, he was third on the depth chart and stuff like that. But yeah, he had Gio Bernard and Jeremy Hill in front of him, like two proven, guys. Like you got career backups like in front of this dude, and maybe it's just my fear is that we go into the season and this guy isn't, lit, and then it will come back to me where 90% of people watching this right now, you weren't thinking Jackson Carman until Jackson Carman came off the board. We all did our mocks. We all went through this a million times. As we learned more information, I was cool. Jackson Carman's the guy. Let's go. Let's run it, whatever. But in my opinion, I feel like the Bengals went against the grain by picking Jackson Carman. To this day, they can't convince me, like anything else. So one thing that you were telling me before the draft is like, hey, the Bengals don't do a really good job at picking that offensive line. And to me, it's almost like that's like a Billy Price situation. It's like this guy can't beat out other people in there. And they were like, oh, well, we got these other guys that, could maybe do it. Like, no, he was drafted to start. And, he needs to earn his thing. But Jamar Chase right now, the difference is he's out there and he's taking a lot of reps with the ones. He doesn't take all the reps with the one because there is this rookie initiation thing or whatever. Auden Tate slides in and takes in reps with him. And I say that to say this. If we're going to say that this guy should be out there, Jackson Carman, and to pick him that high, he needs to get mentally prepared for that. And that's not a Michael Jordan situation where you're taking somebody and forcing them out there. The talent level at that part of the draft says that he should be out there and he should have no problem beating out Xavier Su'a-Filo. So maybe I jumped the gun. I think I wrote a tweet too, and I was just like, man, like the optics aren't that good. But I kind of misread it too, and that's my mistake where I'm just there, like I'm looking at the starting lineup that they have out there, but at the same time, I'm just like, I just don't want to read some stupid story about, like growing pains and transitioning to a position because the talent level at that spot was so high that you didn't have to do that. Like if you look around the league and you look at the Redskins, what's the kid that they drafted? The one of the guys that we were saying is that Wyatt? Oh, Sam Cosmi and stuff like that. Guys around the league that got drafted in that same spot are going to be starting. Like they have the same pool of people in front of them too. Same backup Xavier Su'a-Filo level guys, and they're going to be starting. So it is like a jump the gun type of moment for me, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I know, I'm not trying to make excuses for him. I know that Carman did have some kind of back surgery or something like that. I don't know if that's playing into it as well. We'll have to see. But like you said, like obviously, I think this weekend camp tomorrow is open to the public, right? So we'll get the fans will actually be able to see what's going on. But with that, let's also talk about the depth at center and guard. It seems that Austin Ryder, it seems that he left Cincinnati without a deal. In my opinion, I think that was a little bit of a mistake, but it could be that he was asking for too much money. So how do you feel about the current depth right now at the center and the guard position?
I don't think it's good enough, actually. And for me, one of the things I was told from somebody in the building is that they wanted to take a look at his knee. So that was one of the main things. The second thing that I was told is that I think when he came there, he was coming there, and of course, if he waits it out, he might can get a starting center job. But when Trey Hopkins starts off and he's fully cleared, that's probably not as desirable for him. So I don't think that's on the Bengals for not wanting him or whatever. I just think like maybe it didn't line up, and maybe it could line up. Maybe Trey Hopkins doesn't show him everything that they need to show him like in the next couple of weeks, because as again we're saying he just tore that ACL week 17. So there's a lot of possibilities that could still happen. Another guy that's still out there is Easton, and he kind of fits the same mold too. Guard, center, interchangeable piece. He's still out there, and he's to be had as well. And I feel like maybe a little smidge under Austin Ryder, but that's a guy too that's still out there that I'm like, why don't they, at least bring him in for tryouts at the very least? Or they did. Oh yeah, they did. Didn't they do that one time? I got to look that up. They did.
I think they did have they were linked to him at least at minimum. They did end up signing another guy, Gunner. They also ended up claiming another guy,
Gallup,
I believe from the Cardinals.
Yep, and he had 3 starts under his belt too. He's about in his 3rd season. Gallup.
So they're getting some depth there. Obviously, I talked to a Kansas City guy that was familiar with Ryder, and I think Ryder was expecting that he was going to get paid a lot of money just because of the market, and the market kind of has told him that that hasn't been the case. So it could be the case that I know Zim, we were talking, and you had shared like that potentially the money that he was looking for probably wasn't there from the Bengals in terms of what they wanted to offer and what other teams have wanted to offer. So that could be one of the reasons that he's still out there on the market. But like you said, if Trey Hopkins was going to be the starter, Ryder has only played center. That could have been a backup situation for him. So yeah, I definitely hear what you're talking about there. The depth, I think, is somewhat of a concern, but we'll have to see how this plays out. Obviously, with Hakeem Adeniji potentially coming back at the end of the season, we'll have to see how that works after talking with Doc on his kind of status from an injury standpoint. So we'll just have to see. It's something that I feel a little bit better about, but I just think that we would have been able to put it to rest with like a Austin Ryder or maybe one of those other guys that are out there. So we'll just have to see. The other depth concern that we have is edge rusher. You kind of touched on it a little bit. So talk to me about and give your thoughts about the depth at defensive tackle, because we did have a defensive tackle kind of pull his hammy this week. The starter that we had there with Larry Ogunjobi. And obviously that was a big issue for us last season with DJ Reader and all those guys going down. And obviously edge was an issue as well. How do you feel about the depth at that position?
I'm in the same boat. It's where, part of my day is about, like what I do for a living is ruling out variables. And I looked at a lot of the different things that happened to us this past season. And a lot of it, they got to a point where the depth was so bad that it just made it so that it was a complete wash. Okay, let's finish out the tank job and let's just get healthy, right? But say you don't have that. Say you have 1 or 2 guys down. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're just searching for that one guy. What do we know from this offseason about the edge position? I know that most of the other teams in the division, most of them got a little bit better. Some of them still on the same level. I know one thing about us is that's the one position group that I hammered down all of last season and said that this is a very weak group. They didn't do anything to better themselves to me. Like I don't think, by a show of hands in the audience tonight, who thinks that Trey Hendrickson is offering more than what Carl Lawson is? Most people, when Trey Hendrickson got signed, most people said, well, he got a bunch of cleanup sacks on the strength of the line and the guys that they have there at the Saints. What you're trying to emulate for him for the Bengals is to give him 2 other competent, really good rushers. What you're looking at right now on paper is Joseph Ossai has to give you 4 to 5 sacks like year 1, if that's the plan for your 3rd down package. If not, let's not kid ourselves. I love Sam Hubbard to death. People take this as a shot at me, but Sam Hubbard is not giving 10, 12 sacks per year. So when you go against the best of the best, you go against when you go up against the best tackles in footballs, like the Browns have the best offensive line in football. You need elite athletes. You need to throw multiple bodies at them. You don't need some guy that you're just relying on saying, well, he can stop the edge and he's really good against the run. Cool. That's step 1. How do you become a lot better than that? Give me another athletic guy that can give me at the very least 15, 20 snaps a game. That's something that has to be had. And if you're kidding yourself, if you're saying Joseph Ossai is the answer to that, and he hasn't even played it down. If we look at any other team from the outside looking in, you see a rookie come in, you took a flyer on him 3rd, 4th, 5th round or something, you're going to look at him and like, who's that guy, right? But don't put your Bengals goggles on people and say, okay, Joseph Ossai is here and he looks like Carl Lawson and naturally he looks really good. Me and Ace were talking about this. He's only been playing edge for 1 year. He was a linebacker before then. What did you do in the offseason? This is the part of if people are just now getting with us, is that people caught me in the Jamar Chase stage and they forgot who I really was. Like, I'm a realist. I know that in the offseason, like, I know I got a trio of wide receivers that are going to kick ass. So I'm going to let you know about that every step of the way, and I'm going to yell it from the mountaintops. But I'm going to also look at our edge position and say it was very poor last year, and it didn't get any better. It is built on hope, and I believe in Ossai. I think Hendrickson is going to be a dog too, but he doesn't have the athletic build. He doesn't have the athletic nature or the attributes that a Carl Lawson has. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that. And then and Sam Hubbard has never been that. And you lost Carlos Dunlap, who probably could have gave you 3-4 sacks if you're saying he was washed, right? You didn't do anything to replace that. So what have I been saying, Ace? Go get Chandler Jones. And I think somebody wrote that in the chat, but I think the Xavier Howard news came out where he wants to get a trade, and I just think that that's just so far-fetched compared to Chandler Jones, where I think 31-year-old guy coming off of all season, maybe his value isn't really, really high, but this guy is a potential Hall of Famer, and he's only 31 years old. If you put his sack numbers up against anybody else, the contract doesn't look amazing. He's looking for one more payday, but the Bengals have the money to give somebody one more payday. And I just think that all good rushers, I tell Ace that once a week, all good teams had 3 good elite rushers. Oh, Joseph Ossai sounds good on paper. Say he gets dinged up or anything like that. I just don't like the depth at that position.
Yeah, I think you made a great point. Obviously, when we talk about defensive tackle, I think the tackles from last season to this season, I think they've tried to improve some depth there. I really think that they really did some things there, especially with Josh Tupou coming back. You talk about Shelvin being in the mix there. Tons of guys that can fill that side of it. The only thing is they don't really have too many 3 techniques, right? So Larry Ogunjobi is expected to play that. If they don't get that from him, I'm not sure if they plan on playing Reader there or what they end up doing there. So slight concerns, but not really as much for me, especially if you talk about nose tackles. You talk about Renell Wren being back, even though he's going to play the defensive end in the Big Dom package. So I think that they're set at D tackle. I think that they're just being cautious. And
Mike Daniels can get after it a little bit, though, right?
Mike Daniels is definitely who they would actually play there. Thank you for that, Zim. So yeah, Mike Daniels would definitely step in, and that's the advantage of having a veteran like Mike Daniels that has been a starter and has played at an elite level. A lot of people forget that he was an NFL top 100 player, and that's voted by the fans. That's not a grade or anything like that, right? So he is definitely an adequate guy that could step in and definitely fit the bill and split those reps with Larry Ogunjobi if need be. When we're talking about the edge, and I talked to Zim offline about this, like he just said, it's a question mark. It's not that they don't have people there. It's not that they don't have potential there, but they have a lot of potential. They don't have something that's a sure thing like a Chandler Jones would be. So when you look at it from that standpoint, yes, a lot of people are going to say, hey, Ace and Zim, there's no way that they're going to sign a Chandler Jones. We're not sitting up here saying that it's going to be realistic that they're going to go out and do that, but we do believe that they should do that. Now, obviously, you do have guys that you've already paid with Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard, so that could argue against it. And obviously, they still have to pay Jesse Bates, which could be some big money there. So I could see them using that as a reason to not pay him, but given the circumstances with the season already starting, it's potentially majority of that money could be paid by Arizona. So you could be, in fact, getting Chandler Jones for a smaller portion of the cap, whereas being on the hook for all of that money. And I think, honestly, it would be a smart idea for them to do that because Chandler Jones, like the guys like the Chase Youngs and the guys that come off the edge, the TJ Watts and the Myles Garretts, yeah, you could try to wait until next year to land one, but the odds of you getting one of them is very slim. It's extremely slim. Even when you talk about the corner position with Xavier Howard and stuff like that, like the possibility to get a lockdown corner and an edge rusher like that is tough. And so I definitely think that they need to make calls. I definitely think that they need to evaluate their roster. And I think that you would make the move now and figure it out later. You know, obviously the Bengals handle their stuff a different way. They do rollovers and things of that nature. So yeah, it might not feel like that. But if you really want this to be a team that's going to be set up in the future to win even next season and make that championship run, Chandler Jones is a guy that you would add to that nucleus. Now, he's unhappy with his contract. Obviously, you know, who knows how they do contracts there in comparison to Cincinnati. It might not be a good fit, but I think you even try. Even if it's a one-year rental or something like that, I think you still have to go after him and do what you can. And I think that when you add someone like Chandler Jones, you just know that this team is probably headed towards 40 to 50 sacks. I mean, with that potential that we have stacked on with Chandler Jones, I think you could easily say the pass rush is fixed now.
And with the, like, if anybody knows, like, let me tell you about Sam Hubbard's contract. On it looks like a $10 million base, you know, salary, right, on average, right? But it's a 6.5 salary cap hit. Bengals are listed for 2022 to be the third most cap space out of any team in the National Football League. With that's players coming off the books, all that type of
and
stuff.
And the Hendrickson contract, they can get out of early. Not saying that they will, but they could potentially get out of it as early as next year.
You got to look at that too. And then the dead cap hit on Trey Wayne, say that doesn't work out or whatever like that. They got money to spend. And Chandler Jones' contract at 31 years old on this part of his career would be, this is what I've been talking about like all season, every single year, is Bengals have to get in the habit of getting players at its lowest stop point, because a lot of times there's like this false hope when you bring in what was I talking about, like Dan Wilkerson or somebody like later on, like buying names and stuff like that. Chandler Jones is at this point of his career where the amount of work that he's done is warranted. Yeah, he has a name, but he's not over the hill. He had one bad season, and you don't have to give up much to get him. Like, it's a unique scenario where I just think that if they had the right people talking and whatever, it wouldn't be a high risk type of thing. And you don't stunt the growth of anybody, because you tell him he's coming in on third down, like every single third down, 20 snaps, Chandler Jones. And then, you know, you're going to rotate. Of course, he's going to play, you know, you play the Chiefs or something like that. You know, like he's going to get more snaps in those games. So it's a perfect scenario. I just think that they have the money. They have 20.85, almost 21 million in cap space after rookies are paid right now. It's not a crazy deal to do it, especially if Cardinals are willing to take some of that hit off of it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know we also were going to be scheduled to have our man Steven on. He's experienced some technical difficulties, but I did want to get in some of his thoughts. He says Xavier Howard and Chandler Jones are not coming to the Bengals, so people can stop talking about them.
Yeah, Xavier Howard
should at least
no way
pick up the phone.
Xavier Howard, the difference with Xavier Howard is the conversation starts with a first round draft pick. You're doing a Mika Fitzpatrick if you get on the phone with Xavier Howard. The biggest part that anybody that's listening to this that was hoping for Xavier Howard is the difference is the money allocated at the position. You just paid a Wouzier and you got this crazy contract for Trey Waynes. Unless they're willing to take Trey Waynes, which I don't think anybody in the NFL would take that contract. Do they like the player? I'm sure they think he's solid, but nobody wants that contract. And so Bengals, to me, it's a non-favorable contract, which is different than the Chandler Jones one. Whereas you be setting him up almost like how you setting up Riley Reef. Is like, hey, look, you do really good, we'll reward you or whatever. But what you're paying a 31, 32-year-old edge rusher at that point in regards to the rest of the league is totally different than somebody like Xavier Howard. You're giving up the first round draft pick, and then you're saying he was already letting you know, I want to be the highest paid player at my position, which the Bengals don't want to do. They don't even want to make Jesse Bates the highest paid person at his position. So like it doesn't even make sense. And somebody else gave me a scenario. Well, we keep Trey Waynes. What NFL cornerback is going to come here and get paid that type of money and split reps? That doesn't happen in the National Football League. Teams that have abundance of corners, that third corner is a slot corner. Go look at the Ravens roster. Go look at the Steelers roster. There are 3 corners. You got a left, your right, and then your slot corner. Like nobody has 2 starting right corners or 2 starting left corners, and you make it work. Like that doesn't work, especially a guy like Xavier Howard that you put on an island.
Right. I mean, for me, if they could do it, I would do it because Xavier Howard, if you talk about like just giving up a first round pick for him, I don't know what the financials are if they trade him, how much the Dolphins would have to be on the hook. Obviously, the Bengals probably aren't going to make him the number 1 paid corner or something like that. But if it were me, I think Xavier Howard is probably a more sure bet than a first round corner that you're taking next year. But like Zim is saying, like they're not going to give the money up for him to be the top paid corner in the league. So they're not going to pay him more than a Jalen Ramsey. And that's probably what Miami is saying. We're not going to pay you more than Jalen Ramsey, who's a lot younger than you and is considered to be better than you. But I think Xavier Howard is a great talent. But 28 years old, I don't know if I want to commit that much money to somebody about to be knocking on 30's doorstep. So let's go ahead and move on. Let's move to the offensive side of the ball. And Chris Callahan had some pretty interesting comments on Chris Evans. And he also says that he doesn't think Puka isn't really a running back. So what are your thoughts just on our man Chris Evans, which we were both high on, and Puka and his role going forward?
Chris Evans is a crazy talent that people are going to see. Like he's going to hit the ground running. Like, excuse me, I even it's so crazy. My fantasy program that I use a program called Fantasy Pros or something like that to do like some of my mocks. Yeah. And they had a big article on it that they were saying Chris Evans is, potentially like a guy to like go get his elite sleeper. And they had a lot of different metrics and things that was supported because running talent, he's awesome. Michigan, pass blocking, he was pretty damn good too. So if he goes into camp and just outshines like P. Ryan, I could see a situation where he's like, he's already going to be the guy that they're going to call in to, run some of that stuff that Gio does, even though I know that they're saying they want to get Mixon all of that. They can't give him all of that. Like Chris Evans is going to be the guy that sometimes maybe catches the pass out the backfield. I think early on it'll be P. Ryan, Mixon and Evans, right, on the depth chart going into a game. You might see Chris Evans playing special teams at the very beginning and maybe 3 to 5 snaps a game. But in those 3 to 5, if he shines, they call a screen or anything like that. Like P. Ryan, like might get dropped down the depth chart. I think it might even happen before then. I really like his game. The Puka one is crazy because I think they're looking at the size and saying like, hey, he's not big enough to sustain this in the National Football League. But he catches the ball so well. There's a picture that's going around the internet today. He had a guy like turned around. I wish I would have sent it to you before the show. He had a guy like turned around. He was looking phenomenal today. He's wearing 36, right? Or 26. I think it's 36. But I don't know if you had that highlight on here. I haven't been really watching that. But he was he was out there with the wide receivers. They were doing a drill. And look, I got the world calling I got the world calling Jamar Chase Uno because I seen the Bengals just Uno. I'm like, that's crazy. Anyway, Uno going through the whole it's another one. It's another drill where the guy's standing right there behind the cones. You throw the ball in between the cones. The guy's standing there trying to break up the pass right there. Higgins dropped his. Uno caught his. Tyler Boyd caught his. I forgot the other kid, 14. He dropped his. Puka goes through it so smooth, catches it. I mean, he looks like a wide receiver coming out of that thing. And it was like the toughest wide receiver drill. But he definitely he could catch. I just think the depth chart is going to be hard for him to suit up. I just don't see how you can, how can you get him out there? Yeah, there he is. How could you get him out there? And everybody that's watching this is courtesy of my guy, Cincy Bengals Talk. This is
Cincinnati Bengals Talk, James Rapine.
Yep, this is today's practice. But how do you get him out there if you got 3 running backs that you're bringing out there on Sunday? Your wide receiver chart, you know you're gonna carry 8, right? At the most. Can he beat out Trent Irwin? And if so, he's gotta contribute on special teams. And usually guys that small, I don't know. It's tough to get him out there.
Yeah, I think Puka's just a football player. I think Chris Evans is definitely in the shot some this season, but we got to talk about Joe Burrow and him wanting to get hit in the preseason. Me personally, when I listen to Mike Brown does not want Joe Burrow to be out there, and I understand both sides of the situation. I can completely understand because that's his biggest asset. If you have a Lamborghini, you might not want to go and rent it out to somebody to risk it getting in a car wreck before you make some good money off of it, right? And so I think that's where he's coming from. But to me, I think it kind of seems like from the Zach and the Joe side, it seems like Joe wants to play. I mean, I understand why he wants to play because mentally he has to be able to get out there and step onto the field and just get that game type feeling, even if it's just a series. I think a series is a great compromise for both sides just to see what he can do out there. Now, I don't think he should get hit on that series, but I think he should at least try to go out there. You can't control what's going to happen, right? But I understand why Joe wants to get out there in the preseason, and I also understand why Mike Brown and might keep him from doing that. So what are your thoughts on him wanting to get out there? I think that just shows mentally that he's just different. But what are your thoughts on Joe wanting to get out there and get hit?
I just think it would be a national field day, everybody killing our organization, killing everything about us if Joe were to get hurt. It's not worth the risk to me. Tyler Boyd went out there today and said that he thinks that Joe should at least get out there for one series in the preseason. For me,
I'm with
it. And the dog in me is saying, yeah, Joe says, but this is the thing that I know about our fans. This is the thing I know about football in general is that everybody not willing to live with the consequences. I am. If he got hurt, I'm mentally prepared that anybody can get hurt. Our fans are not. They would kill Mike Brown and they would burn down the stadium if he got hurt. So why even chance it? Just wait, and I know everybody's like, Zim, you sound like a pussy. What happened to you in the all season? Like, just wait, it is what it is. Like, I'm a new man these days, Ace. I've toned down my act and I've gotten smarter and I want to protect the merchandise. So I don't want nobody to touch them. I don't want nothing to happen. I just want them to go smooth as possible because I know our fans are unforgiving and they don't care how it happens. And I really care about the fans too. I talk to James all the time. He'd be like, why do you care about what the fans think so much? Especially with the Jackson Carmen thing and everything like that. I'm like, do you know what the fans would do? And he's like, why do you care? I'm like, because that's a big part of what I think we are. Me and you get to talk and do things that a lot of fans don't get to do. And I know how our fans are. Like when something happens, somebody gets hurt, it is like World War III. So I'm compartmentalizing that, and I'm putting that in my heart today for today's show. Do not touch Joe Burrow. Let Joe Burrow come out week 1, guns a blazing. Let him go hard on 11 on 11s. Let him do all that stuff like that. Like
I'm with you.
I know that refs won't even protect them too. Say somebody come in with a cheap shot or something like that. The refs don't even protect us. Like I don't even want to play with them.
That's facts. So the last thing before we get out of here, you talked about Wilson getting, I think, the helmet. So he must be getting the plays. Is that what it is? He's like the quarterback of the defense. He's the one that's going to be getting the plays called in.
Yep, they gave him the keys to the car. He's wearing the radio this year. So everybody's looking for our next birth is Wilson.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the only thing that somewhat scared me about Wilson, I really love Logan Wilson. I think that he's going to be a great player for the Bengals. The only thing that I'm wondering is I know he had some concussion issues last year. Maybe it was that the games were too far away to even risk him being out there. I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor. I probably should have asked Pro Football Doc about that last year. But I hope that he can stay healthy. And, obviously that is a dangerous thing when you talk about those concussions. I just think about when Tez used to have them and kind of be out a couple of games. But I think that he's more than capable and ready for that. I think he's a smart player. Can't wait to see him out there. Can't wait to see what he does and takes a step there. But
hold on. Somebody said, "Why y'all leaving so soon?" Let me ask you a couple couple things, because I know people are starving for information, insight from camp. I'm gonna tell you a couple things that I noticed. I noticed that Awuzie has been in the correct spots and a lot of different things. I wanted to break down a couple plays where Uno been going crazy. One thing that I want everybody to know, and I'm gonna get your take on some things that maybe you've noticed. You guys have been watching the clips in the background. One thing that I noticed about Jamar is that I don't know if I quite noticed this as much, is that he's got this stride to him. It's so different watching him, like the way that he runs his routes. They come off like super, super smooth, and he's way more of a route technician than I think anybody probably ever gave him credit for. Most of the highlights that you'll see of Uno doing like really good stuff, it's just like him early on being able to do some things. And in the balls that they're a lot contested, I had caught like a couple different things, because people that don't know, me and Ace both play corner, and I was pointing out some things that I think on a couple of routes that I noticed, he was thinking at the top of the route. It didn't have to be a double move. It didn't have to be like, I think he was running a slant one day. And I'm thinking, if I'm a corner, he helped the Awuzie out on one of those plays. I wish I had the clip rolled up, but one of the things that he was doing at the top of the route is like, he gives him like a little hezzy. And one thing about his game is like, he's got a twitch to him that it's hard to catch, and you don't want to get beat with his speed. One thing about Higgins is I know that if I'm playing corner to him, I know he's going to outbody me. Mike Thomas is of the world, Galladay's of the world. I know they're going to outbody me. So I'm gonna try to lean in. I'm gonna try to lean in with my left shoulder and get inside and cut under if I can. And I'm sitting on that a lot more. With Jamar Chase, I'm not. I don't really know what he's going to do, but I felt like in a couple of those different plays, he's getting to the top of it and he's about to break, and he does a hezzy and he thinks. When he gets past thinking, it's going to click and he's going to flow through it. Because on those out routes and the different things that he's doing where he wasn't thinking, it's nothing you could do as a defender. You don't want to get beat. The only thing that I would have had that could probably work on my favor is I know where the chains are. If I know where the chain, and the fact that I know the line is an elite. But that's where Joe Burrow improvising is just a killer. Like for a guy like Jamar Chase, like if you've ever played defense or whatever, like there's nothing you could do. I mean, even the Tyler Boyds and T. Higgins of the world, there's nothing you could do if the quarterback improvises and gets extra time. But at the top of the routes, once he gets and he knows the playbook really well, he's going to be unstoppable. And Tyler Boyd made a comment earlier today where he was just like, I just don't know if teams start blitzing, somebody's gonna be open. I feel like he's been watching our show, but but he mirrored everything that we've been saying about these three guys playing. It's just not normal. People could try to show me like the Buccaneers and the very best wide receivers of the National Football League, the Dallas Cowboys of the world or whatever. Cool. I believe in those guys, and I think they're really, really good. I just don't know that anybody has this in their prime. Like what you're seeing right in their prime, no major injuries. Like, where is that? And that's something nobody could tell me. They'll just fight it and tell me something else. But I just noticed that some things in Jamar Chase's game that I didn't know. Like his route running already is really, really good. The only times that I've seen him being stopped was an underthrown ball, or if he hesitates at the top of a route instead of just cutting and breaking and bursting up. Because if he burst up into the route and I'm in that back pedal stage, when he got into that hezzy and he plants and he sticks for that half a second, I want that. Because now I've regrouped. Now I've recentered. Now I'm not going this way or I'm not this way. I've now recentered. So now that's the one thing I would tell him if I got a chance to tell him was like, I don't give a shit what you do. Run it. You know, just run what you're going to run your stuff.
Two things I want to talk about. One, I want to get your list of some players like going into camp that you're looking for that might be sleepers, or that you're looking to, like, when you're scouring Twitter for the updates that are coming from there, who are some of the people that you're looking at, or when you're looking in the videos, I need 5 players from you. And then I want to talk about the Jesse Bates situation, because I think the Bengals actually have some leverage here with him coming out and saying that he eagerly wants to like sign and get extended here. But let's talk about your five players that you can just think we freestyle this, guys. This is no secret. Me and Zim don't have a script, so we have reference points and stuff like that. But off the dome, I'm gonna give mine first.
Yeah,
So
you go first. I'm about to say go first. That way I can stall and act like I just knew.
I'm gonna say one of the people that I'm looking for is I'm gonna say Khalid Kareem. I've talked about that before, so I kind of want to see what he's gonna do. Obviously, you talk about Puka. We gotta see it. I mean, you guys have me excited about the Puka train right now. So I think Puka is another guy that I'm looking for. How he's gonna play, what he's gonna do. I think honestly, Riley Reef, that's not really a sleeper, but I just want to see like what the addition of Riley Reef to this offensive line during the preseason and in camp is going to be. Trey Hendrickson, I think, as well. And I think if I had to go with another one, I think Awuzie. You already know we've been sharing clips and stuff like that on Awuzie. So those are some of the sleeper guys that might be on the radar or under the radar that I'm just kind of looking at throughout this whole process. What about you, Zem?
For me, my number one is going to be like sleeper, right? I don't know if he's a sleeper to us, but Darius Phillips is a guy that I don't know, like, you know, like there's very few clips that you could find him getting beat or anything like that, and he's always where he's got to be. Even in the games that people were the most critical on him last year, he was in the spot, he just didn't make a play. He's the one defender on our team that I think takes chances, and I really like that about him. And then he's also a big threat in the punt return game, so I really, really want him to get his shine, because if the Trey Waynes thing doesn't go the way that we want it to go, or Awuzie doesn't go the way that he wants it to go, I think the Bengals need to really, like, you know, hedge their bets that way. That's one. Now I want to see Jermaine Pratt. I want to see, this is a make or break year. Like, he's on the outside looking in, like, possibly. So Jermaine Pratt's another guy. I think Hendrickson is going to be the third guy because he's got a lot to fill. I know what Sam Hubbard is, and I know a lot of people are like probably thinking I'm super critical on him because I think I was on Facebook, because everybody now I'm on Facebook. I don't know if you guys know I'm on Facebook now, so that's a crazy world out there, but they love Sam Hubbard on Facebook. If I didn't know any better, I would think that Sam Hubbard was Myles Garrett on Facebook. That I don't know, but you guys love him, so I guess I love him too. But he's really good against the run. I know what he's going to give me every year. His motor's going to be unstoppable, but he is not the athletic freak that I look for in an edge defender that's going to wreck a game in a big, meaningful game in the AFC North. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for him to step his game up. So those are the two edge guys right there. And then the fifth guy, I'm going to go with Puka too. Because, I mean, if he's the crowd favorite, just like a couple years ago, I remember I was sending out behind the scenes. There's probably somebody in here that probably could tell you. I was giving out Auden Tate shirts. It was a shirt that said Auden Tate.
Yeah, I remember that.
Something. I forgot what it said. I gave them out to like 4 or 5 people. I think we need to start up like a Puka train. Another guy, I'm going to tell you another guy under the radar. You ready for this? This is big under the radar. This is number 6. Frank the Tank Pollock, the people's champ. I feel like at the end of the day, you know, like by the time we get to week 2 or week 3, I just think that Frank the Tank is going to make his mark on this team. And Frank the Tank is a big part of what we're doing. If Jackson Carman doesn't work out, you know, whatever, it's because Frank the Tank made the call, and we're hitting the ground running with the guys that we got, and it is what it is, and we don't care because we got our starting 5 and we're out there smashing people, and we're going to bring back the nasties. I'm looking for the nasty boys. Pause.
That is pause.
The whole concept. No, we're looking for the nasties. That's what Frank Tank.
I can't believe I forgot to bring him out, and he's catching the pass right now.
Trent Irwin
catching Trent Taylor, not Trent Irwin. That's my bad. That was Trent Irwin that just caught the pass, but Trent Taylor, I'm interested in seeing. Like, I just get Dan Seisenbacher vibes. You feel me from him with one of those random slot receivers. But let's talk about Jesse Bates in this situation, bro, because I honestly feel like he wants to be a Bengal. It's known that he wants to be a Bengal. He wants to get a job done, or he wants to get something done right now. Why won't they just do it? For me, the leverage has to be in the Bengals corner right now. I have to imagine when I've heard, and I can't speak exactly for Jesse or them or anything like that, but I seem to remember, I can't remember which extension it was, but one dude was just like, whatever Cincinnati is going to give me, if it's decent, I'm taking it. Like, just make sure that I'm a Bengal. I want to be a Bengal. To me, it just seems like that's what Jesse would be saying to his agent. Like, I want to make it work here. Let's make it work. Whatever it takes to make it work, let's do it. Obviously, you want to get the best deal, but it seems like his mom is trying to figure out whether she can buy a house in the Natty and stuff like that. So they obviously want to be here. He's from Indiana. A lot of his family can come and see him play the games. And a lot of people don't think about that, right? Because people don't take into account how being in close proximity to your family so that everybody can go and travel to the games and actually see you, what that means to players. I mean, Khalid Kareem said that was one of the reasons that he ended up going to Notre Dame, with him being from Michigan. His family can come and watch him play. That matters. A lot of people think that it's just the money and stuff like that, but things like that matter. So I think that they should just get this done, bro. I mean, the Bengals kind of know where their market is. I feel like it's a situation, and there's Trent Taylor right there. It's a situation where both sides can make it work. What are your thoughts on how they get that done, and is it going to get done?
I think it's going to get done 100%. I just think, like I said, the Bengals are never going to be in the business of paying someone the highest at their field, right? At their given position. As luck would have it, safety isn't paid like the cornerback or the edge position. So this is the one instance where I just thought that, okay, they'll pay the safety more than anybody, right? The Jamal Adams deal, I think, is lingering, and maybe that's a part of it. Maybe they want to see where that gets done. But to me, Jamal Adams isn't the same. That's not the same type of safety. So I don't know if they're looking for that to set the market or what. They have the money. They have the space. For them to come in $1 million or $2 million under would be silly to me. Like you said, they are getting a bit of leverage in the sense that they know that Jesse Bates wants to be there. He's not that type of guy that's just going to hold out or anything like that. And he's being real with them. He's letting them know, like, hey, look, I'm going to show out, and I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to lead by example. So do me right and, pay me what I should. And I think his agent's probably saying, my stats would show that I need to be the number 1 paid safety. And maybe the Bengals are like, I think you need to be the number 3 or 4 paid safety, I guess. They can't be that far apart, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's too far apart. Just don't get lost in the sauce unless it's the Midwest Best Barbecue Sauce. Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue. They are a close friend of the show. One thing that I found out, I was talking to some people and they were like, do they deliver? Yes, they do deliver. They actually deliver straight from their website, MidwestBestBarbecue.com.
Yes,
so
sir.
Within a 5-mile radius of their address, 669 Justice Lane in Loveland, they actually deliver. If not, though, you're still in luck, because I know we've gotten used to DoorDashing. I know I DoorDash. I know Zim DoorDashes. So if you with the DoorDash gang, you can also DoorDash at Midwest Best Barbecue. Get you some Grippo wings and turn up. Watch some training camp highlights. Maybe you could watch it during the show while me and Zim, if you're watching this tomorrow and it's lunchtime, go ahead and hit them up and get you some wings.
Yeah, I wanted to say everybody's going to be out there tomorrow. I'm sorry, guys, we can't be out there because we just got to live our lives, and I got bills to pay, and I wish I could come and hang out with there and dap you guys up.
But we might be there week 1. We might do something at Midwest Best Barbecue.
For sure.
Up on us.
But everybody that goes out there tomorrow, make sure y'all take videos and stuff. Send us like stuff, which you've been out there at camp. If you're out there, if you wear your whole lot of orange, like I had over 180, I think we're at 180 shirts or whatever out. If you got a whole lot of orange shirt, wear that. If you got your Migos shirt that Aces got in the background over there, wear it out to camp. Let people know that we out there and we represent, because we can't be there. And if you want to get a shirt, ZimHude.com, NewStripeCity.com. I don't have on one right now, but Where I'm From is another partner that we're working with too. Official licensed merchant for Joey B stuff right now. We're working with them. There's not too many people working with them like we are. So we're doing that too. Ace has got the link in his bio for that. I'm going to put the link. I'm going to post this shirt up later on today too. So we want to see you guys represented out there because the I forgot what they're calling it, but the welcome back Saturday thing is coming on. So by the time you guys hear this, I'm hoping we should put this out like right now, right? Because
we're gonna put it out tonight.
There's gonna be a lot of stuff that happens tomorrow. I think that kind of steals the show a little bit. So we want to make sure that you guys represent tomorrow, though.
Nah, that's facts. We appreciate y'all for repping for us since we can't be there. So yeah, that's gonna be dope for me and Zim to see that. Please be sure to send us that information and stuff like that on Zim's Instagram at Zim_Hude. You can find me on Instagram at New Stripe City, at New Stripe City on Twitter, all one word, and at Zim Hude on Twitter, all one word. So please be sure to do that. And Zim, we gotta leave him with a yes,
Sirski.
Hello, world. What separated your deep ball from everybody else?
My deep ball, it has a little secret sauce to it, man.
Never get too high, never get too low, but just keep moving.
The whole story is Carlos never beat me in any kind of sport.